are a wide variety of pallet trucks at work in industry. They fall into two main categories: pallet movers and pallet stackers. Within both these categories there are true pedestrian machines and others which can be pedestrian operated but also have a ride-on facility. Pallet movers are able to lift the pallet and load sufficiently clear of the ground to be able to transport it from A to B. Pallet stackers are able to carry loads and also stack them. The main purpose of this film is to show new trainees how to operate these types of trucks safely and efficiently, but it'll also provide a useful reminder to experienced drivers of how it should be done properly. As with all types of fork trucks and pallet trucks, the pre-shift inspection is a vital part of safe operation. So what extra features should we look for on pedestrian trucks? For trucks with a ride-on facility, in most cases this will be a fold-down platform at the rear of the truck. Part of the pre-use checks is to make sure that the platform moves freely, locks into position correctly, and is free from damage. On trucks dedicated to order picking, commonly referred to as low-level order pickers or lollops, the operator platform is fixed and lies between the drive unit of the truck and the load. The remainder of the checks are mainly concerned with moving and stopping the truck. Carry out these checks in pedestrian mode first and then in ride-on mode. The accelerator, brakes and steering are all normally sited on the tiller arm. On this particular truck, like most pedestrian trucks, forward and reverse movement and speed is controlled by a butterfly switch. Push the switch slightly forwards and the truck starts to move slowly forwards. Push the switch further forwards and the truck will speed up. Flicking the switch backwards will cause the truck to move towards you, with the movement getting faster as the switch is moved further. Now let's look at braking. The tiller arm is spring-loaded, and when the truck is idle, the tiller arm is held in the upright position by spring power. In order to achieve movement, the tiller arm needs to be brought down and positioned at mid-height. If the tiller arm is then lowered, the brakes will be gradually applied. If the tiller arm is raised or released, the brakes will be applied quicker, as in an emergency stop. On most rider-operated pedestrian trucks, you'll notice a pressure pad which must be depressed to release the brake. Some trucks may just have an additional foot switch, sometimes referred to as a dead man switch, which acts in the same way as the pressure pad. Checking that this functions properly is an important check before the truck is put into use. Finally, but very importantly, the truck will have an emergency stop repel pad at the end of the tiller arm, which needs to be checked prior to operation. Depress the pad to ensure correct operation. The pad is there to prevent the operator squashing themselves between the tiller arm and an obstruction such as a wall or racking. If the pad is depressed, the truck will stop immediately. On some trucks, not only will the truck stop, but it will then repel a short distance to relieve any squashing pressure. Next, a series of maneuvers are completed to check the steering. The truck should respond to the controlled movement of the tiller arm without undue tightness or looseness. The operator must check the horn to make sure it's working and can be heard. They also need to check gauges and the hydraulic unions for leaks. The best place to look for leaks is on the floor after charging or a period of inactivity. If there is a leak on the floor, never use your fingers in an attempt to determine what the substance may be. It could be hydraulic fluid, or if the battery has been overfilled, it could be electrolyte. Be careful. So what's the correct way to travel safely with these types of truck? Wherever possible, travel in a straight line, and when cornering, do so carefully and at a reduced speed. Always stick to even ground, and with stackers, always make sure that the load is being carried as low as practically possible. Normal travelling with pallet trucks or stackers should take place with the operator standing at an angle on the flip-down platform and travelling forks trailing. When there is a requirement to work in a hazardous or confined area, the truck should be dismounted and operation should then be carried out in pedestrian mode. When operating in pedestrian mode, the normal position is to travel forks trailing, and for the operator to walk to one side of the truck with one hand on the tiller arm and with the tiller arm held at arm's length to maintain maximum separation between operator and truck. When negotiating a bend, the operator should position themselves on the outside of the bend so that they're not drawing the truck towards their body.
On lollops, you must always make sure that all parts of your body are kept within the confines of the truck whilst travelling. And remember, often this type of truck will have long forks which extend the wheelbase of the truck and mean that cornering will require a wide turn in order to negotiate a turn successfully. When order picking, stop the truck so that the distance between the load to be picked and the receiving pallet or roll container on the lollop is minimised. This reduces the handling time and effort and speeds up the whole picking cycle.
You'll remember that in the common denominator we covered load assessment. This is just as important when handling loads with pallet trucks as it is with other larger types of forklift truck. So, having properly assessed our load and the pallet it's resting on, what we need to do now is to handle it. For ease of understanding and remembering, we've broken it down into steps. So let's look at the correct way to do it, starting with lifting and setting down a load using a pallet mover. Step 1. Move forks leading until the tip of the forks are just short of the pallet and stop. Lift the fork slightly, as this will make it easier to enter the pallet cleanly and allow the forks to ride over the pallet's bottom bearers. Step 2. Move smoothly into the pallet until the forks are fully inserted and the load is touching the chassis of the truck. Pallet trucks do not have adjustable forks and are usually specified to handle a particular size of pallet. If you're handling an unusual pallet size, then just make sure that the load wheels aren't resting on one of the pallet's bottom bearers, otherwise the pallet will be damaged when lift is applied. Step 3. Lift the pallet clear of the floor and move away under control. Set down is a reversal of this process. Pallet stackers will lift pallets from and onto the ground using the same procedure as pallet movers. However, because of their design, stackers can only be used with certain types of pallet that allow the support arms to go under the pallet without going over bottom bearers. These are most commonly known as free entry or Euro pallets. When stacking and destacking pallets at height, use the following procedure. Step 1. Move forks leading until the tips of the forks are just short of the pallet and centrally positioned. Stop and apply the brakes. Step 2. Lift the forks to the correct height, checking for any overhead obstructions. Step 3. Check all around to ensure safety. Release the brake and move slowly into the pallet until the fork heels touch the edge of the pallet. Re-engage the brake. Step 4. Check for overhead clearance and lift the pallet just clear of the racking beams. Step 5. Keep checking all around and then release the brake and gently reverse so the load is just clear of the racking. Apply the brake. And finally, step 6. Lower the load under control until the forks are in the safe travel position. The process is complete and it's on to the next task. Now on to stacking, which has once again been broken down into easy steps. For this exercise, we'll be using a different type of pallet, commonly known as the corner post pallet or stillage. These type of pallets stack on top of each other and are often used with this type of truck. You'll remember we covered these in the common denominator. Step 1. Approach the designated location and stop with the load just short of the stack. Apply the brakes. Step 2. Check above to ensure overhead clearance and lift to the correct height to allow the bottom of the pallet to clear the pallet onto which it'll be stacked. Step 3. Release the brake after carefully checking all around and then moving slowly forwards, making any slight steering adjustments necessary to correctly position the load so that the receiving cups of the pallet on the forks are directly above the posts of the lower pallet. Apply the brake. Step 4. Lower the load smoothly onto the posts and position the forks at a height to be able to withdraw cleanly. Step 5. Check around to ensure safety and release the brake. Withdraw from the pallet until the fork tips are clear. Apply the brake. Step 6. Lower the forks and place in safe travel position. Loading and unloading of a lorry or vehicle is something that powered pallet trucks will do on a regular basis. They'll drive onto the back of the vehicle by means of a docking plate or dock leveler. Before driving onto the vehicle, check that it is secured by having its brakes applied and, if necessary, its wheels chocked. Ensure the engine is switched off. Also check that the bed of the vehicle is free of debris and is sufficiently strong enough to take the weight of the truck and load. Once these checks are complete, you're ready to start your task of loading or unloading the vehicle. The pallet should be loaded and unloaded evenly from side to side, taking care not to hit the sides of the vehicle with the pallet truck or load. It is important that at the end of your working day or shift, or when you go on a break, you make sure that you leave your truck parked in a safe position. Your site will normally have a designated area for parking up trucks once operation is complete. Familiarise yourself with the rules and regulations of your site and ensure that your truck is never left in an unsafe position. This film has covered the basics of safe operation of a pedestrian-operated lift truck. It has been designed as a training aid to help operators understand how to operate safely and efficiently. What it can't do is to make you a safe operator by itself. All operators of lift trucks should be properly trained by an accredited trainer. To become a safe and efficient operator, you must remember your training and apply this in your everyday work. So remember these golden rules. Always concentrate on what you're doing. Look carefully around before moving off and look in the direction of travel. Always look up when lifting the mast and always make sure you have sufficient overhead clearance for doorways, pipes, lights and cables. When approaching a blind corner, slow down, maneuver slowly, be prepared to stop and sound the horn to let others know you're there. Do stay in control. Always keep at least one hand on the tiller arm at all times and travel at a speed suited to the conditions. Avoid making sharp turns or sudden stops. If following another truck, keep a minimum separation gap of 3 truck lengths to allow you to stop safely if necessary. If you come across debris on the floor, don't drive over it. Stop, park safely and remove it. The next driver may not spot it, resulting in an accident. Every year in the UK, there are thousands of reportable accidents involving pedestrian lift trucks, many of them very serious and cause painful and sometimes permanent injuries, particularly to lower limbs. Accidents don't just happen. They're caused by things like operator error, inadequate supervision, doing things too fast, ground and working conditions, poor equipment condition or complacency. Remember the message in this film and your training. Be safe, look after yourself and everything and everyone around you.